You're back with In Session and the Georgia versus Hemy Neumann murder trial. I'm Darren Kavinoky. Breaking news here, Andrea Sneiderman has just been released. Andrea posted a $500,000 bond and, of course, had some other requirements she's got to comply with. And now she finally gets to breathe the sweet air of freedom. Joining me now to talk about Andrea Sneiderman and Hemy Neumann is Sean Park, a former prosecutor and criminal defense lawyer. Sean, thanks for being here.
Darren, thanks for having me.
So let's talk about this breaking news first. Andrea Sneiderman out of custody. And just to add some context for our viewers, Andrea Sneiderman, the quote-unquote secondary victim in this case, was her husband, Rusty Sneiderman, who was killed at the hands of Hemy Neumann. And at times, Andrea Sneiderman didn't exactly seem the grieving widow during the trial.
No, she didn't, Darren. Throughout the trial, she was very emotional, almost erratic, and you've seen testimony throughout this week that she's been almost causing a disruption. And the prosecutors made a highlight of that as they were talking about why she didn't deserve a bond. I think in this situation, the bond was necessary, and it was a proper result by Judge Adams in this case. She wasn't a flight risk. She was under suspicion, under investigation for quite some time, and she didn't go anywhere. And the other thing that they had a problem with also was if Andrea Sneiderman, if they had a suspicion that she was involved in this killing, why wasn't she sitting in that chair at the beginning with Mr. Neumann in this case?
Yeah, it's a great question. As far as her release goes, though, she had some conditions that I think were unusual for Georgia courthouses in that besides posting the monetary bond, she had to, surrender her passports?
Yes.
And the passport of her children, or passports, I should say, of her kids, and then also electronic monitoring. Am I right on all that?
You are correct. And those are actually fairly standard conditions for a bond, especially one such as this case where we're dealing with a capital offense. She had to post $250,000 in certified funds of that $500,000 bond amount. Then she also had to surrender her passports, her children's passports. She has to live with her parents, I believe, and also she has to.
That may be an unusual
and then the ankle
condition,
monitor,
right?
Yeah. Right. So I mean, J. Tom Morgan's he's a very savvy defense lawyer. He was the former DA in that circuit, and he actually is presenting a very strong effort to make her appear more sympathetic because she was not a very sympathetic victim during the course of this trial.
No, and we're actually going to talk a little bit more in detail about that later. First, let's go back to what we've been covering in the trial, which is this business involving the minivan. And look, as a criminal defense lawyer, and I've been trying cases myself for nearly 2 decades now, insanity defenses are tough. As a matter of fact, I'll always remember a case involving a shooting where the thing that undid our insanity defense was when our client picked up the shell casings afterwards, because picking up the shell casings is an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Here we've got a little bit of a different scenario in that we've got a lot of premeditation, a lot of planning. Talk to me about that and the challenges that presents inside the courtroom.
Well, the prosecution has gone to great lengths to bring in every witness, basically bringing you a chain of events from 5 o'clock in the morning when Hemy Neumann goes to GE, he checks into GE, and his paper trail electronically is traced the entire time up until the point where he actually begins returning the vehicle and getting gas to fill up, I guess, so he doesn't get the surcharge at the end when he's turning the vehicle back in. So they've laid that out quite a bit. And I think the defense is doing what they can to kind of minimize that a little bit. I don't think at the end it has much to do with their ultimate insanity defense because they've got clear expert testimony, I believe, that's going to present that he had some delusions. He appeared to be almost cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I would say. And
two scoops of crazy in his breakfast cereal.
Absolutely. And the analogy I'd like to make here, Darren, is that when you've got a case where someone is deluded, the insanity defense is still plausible, and still ultimately he could be convicted, but mentally ill. You've got John Hinckley Jr. who killed Ronald Reagan. Maybe we're dating ourselves and talking about that analogy, but John Hinckley Jr. clearly shot President Reagan, and he did so because he wanted to convince Jodie Foster's, not Jodie Foster, but Jodie Foster's character from Taxi Driver,
right.
that he wanted to be with her. And this is a situation that's a lot more intimate.
Well, it's a great point. Let me take you back to the van, though, because as a former prosecutor, I bet you love this stuff. The van speeding away, and we heard from a witness that said he was wearing that beard beforehand. Right. Let me play a little something for you about that speeding van. Take a listen to this, and then I got a quick question for you.
Did you see the person that shot Mr. Sneiderman? No, but right after the 4 shots, I saw the car drive by really fast.
Okay, let me take you back on that again. You say
Okay.
you saw the car drive by real fast.
Yes, the silver van.
The silver van.
Yes,
Do you know what type of silver van it was?
it was a Kia.
And by really fast, were the tires screeching? Was it peeling out? What do you mean?
Yes, it was. There was a peeling out sound. I don't believe there was a screeching, but
Could you see the individual inside of the car?
no.
So we've got this van screeching away. To your mind, Sean, is the screeching van, obviously screeching, we're going to hear this is a car that's going fast, right? Is the screeching van just like picking up the shell casings? He knows he'd done something wrong and now he's getting out of there.
The prosecution's going to argue that. I still think the evidence that the defense has to show how deluded he was with his relationship with Andrea, as far as him deluding and believing that Rusty's kids were his own kids and how Rusty was of the devil and all these things, it shows that someone's not entirely there. And while he may have had some sort of mindset that what he did was wrong, ultimately, I think at the point, by the time he got to that point, he was not thinking quite clearly.
Okay, so he's not thinking quite clearly. So tell me, again, as a former prosecutor, I know you're a defense lawyer now. It's fun to be able to put on your prosecutorial hat. Yeah, let's argue the other side. So what do you think are the biggest challenges that the prosecution faces in this case?
The prosecution faces?
Yeah.
The prosecution faces the hurdle of proving that he's clearly methodically planning this attack. And as you said, I mean, if I'm taking the prosecution position, absolutely. He acknowledged the wrongdoing, speeding away from the scene after shooting someone 4 times. Absolutely, that helps their case.
You know, there was one fact that I picked up on for the first time in going through all of this again, that there was one witness that said, and we heard from this witness earlier, that he saw him in the van before the shooting and he was wearing the beard. As a matter of fact, it was that description that led to the sketch that was out. Then we've got another witness who says that he saw the speeding van leaving the scene, got a good look at him, but no beard. Meaning that he took the beard off, if we're to believe that testimony. He took the beard off after the shooting in yet another opportunity to avoid detection.
Taking the beard off, pulling the shell case, he's covering his tracks.
Yeah. Boy, fascinating, and I think the analogies that you draw to the assassination attempts, really a good one. So thank you, Sean, and I know you're going to be joining us later again today. I'm looking forward to digging into this with you some more.
Same here,
Thank
Darren.
you so
Thanks.
much.